Hey there. Are you curious what psychiatric slavery is? If you are, then I'll tell you. Psychiatric slavery was a term coined by, I believe, Thomas Sawes. It was maybe somebody before him, but as far as I know, it was Thomas Sawes, who was a psychiatrist, who coined the term psychiatric slavery. And psychiatric slavery is when a professional in the psychiatric industry or psychological services industry. Thomas Sawes referred to the psychiatric industry as anybody in the counseling, psychology, professional psychologies, sector. So, yeah, counselors, social workers, psychiatric nurse practitioners, psychiatrists, anybody associated with involuntary psychiatry and psychology who benefits economically from when somebody is locked inside of a psychiatric ward, treated against their will, coerced or forced into being treated, denied their right to suicide, so on and so forth. And when I said that last sentence, let me clarify that for myself personally, about myself personally, that I hope suicides stop happening. Suicides are tragic. However, we should not use coercion and force to stop them. We should use reason, persuasion, and kindness, not coercion and force. So, Thomas Sawes coined the term psychiatric slavery. I'm fairly certain. I could be wrong, but I think it was him. He wrote a book called Psychiatric Slavery. I recommend the book. And, so when a social worker, counselor, psychologist, psychiatrist, psychiatric nurse practitioner, so on and so forth, benefits economically from someone who is being locked up in a psychiatric ward against their explicit desires, they say, I want to leave, I want to go, to wherever, and they're being forced to be there because they're deemed to be a danger to themselves or others. Well, that is psychiatric slavery because they're benefiting economically from the psychiatric confinement. What ends up being effective imprisonment, effective jailing. Well, that is psychiatric slavery. Just like, 200 years ago, when a farmer would benefit economically from forcing somebody who has dark colored skin, generally from the continent of Africa 200 years ago, whether they had just arrived or had been in the United States for a few generations. That is chattel slavery, where they're being owned as property. Psychiatric slavery is when somebody is being used to benefit economically through being forced or coerced through some sort of psychiatric means or method. So that is psychiatric slavery, if you were curious. And it exists. This is 2014, and this happens every day. There's, in each major city, there's, county hospitals that have locked psychiatric units where somebody who's deemed to be a danger to themselves or others can be locked up in. And, then people may ask, oh, well, wait, what if somebody is a danger to themselves or others? What should happen then? Well, that's a great question. Well, I'll answer it. So, if somebody is a danger to their own self, they should be persuaded and reasoned with and shown kindness in order to persuade them and show them that living on earth can be a wonderful thing, that they should want to live on earth. But we should not force and coerce them if they're an adult. Maybe, until somebody's the age of 18, the parents can decide whatever. But after 18, suicide should be respected as a human right. And I'm not promoting suicide. I hope they stop happening. I hope we have 0 suicides each year. However, it should be respected as a human and civil right. And yes, we should offer help. We should offer kindness and methods of persuading people to want to live on earth. But I believe I think it was the book Suicide, Prohibition, The Shame of Medicine. I think Thomas Sawes, the psychiatrist, who died in 2012, compares suicide to a form of succession. I think it can be viewed as a form of immigration, wherever we may go, spiritually, metaphysically, whether it's just back into dust or into some sort of afterlife, whether it's some sort of theological, spiritual, heaven or place or whatever. That's a spiritual, theological belief. And of course, we have separation of church and state. We should also have separation of psychiatry and state. And furthermore, I'll note that with suicide, since it does, involve an afterlife or going into dust, depending on if you're a Christian, Hindu, Buddhist or atheist or whatever, it has some theological issues connected to it. Metaphysical, spiritual, theological issues, suicide does, connected to it. And therefore, that is one more reason why psychiatrists should get their nose out of it, should mind their own business. And yeah, if they want to help save lives, then rely on persuasion, kindness, and reason, and not coercion and force. Outlaw psychiatric slavery. It should be outlawed. It's clear. I don't see it as much different than kidnapping. You're effectively imprisoning someone who's not broken a law, because suicide's not illegal. It used to be in certain places actually illegal. They would deny inheritance to the children of those who engaged in suicide. You can go study the history. Thomas Sawes has written extensively about the history of it. I'm sure he's not the only one. I'm sure there's other sources to get the history of it. But yeah. And then with some people who are a danger to others, well, they've probably broken a law, and therefore they should be dealt with criminally, not psychiatrically. And of course, they shouldn't have cruel and unusual punishments, but to make it into a sort of quasi-pseudo-medical issue, being a danger to others is, I think, a very bad path to go down, which we've gone down for many years as a society, for many decades, so on and so forth. But yeah, so that is psychiatric slavery, when somebody is being forced or coerced through like an effective imprisonment in a psychiatric ward, and then there's others economically benefiting from it, whether it be doctors, nurses, counselors, social workers, so on and so forth. So we should outlaw psychiatric slavery. Plain and simple. I'll end it there. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, watch my other videos, visit my websites, read books that Thomas Sawes wrote, and have a wonderful and help outlaw psychiatric slavery. Write your lawmakers. Create a ballot, create a petition, so on and so forth. Do whatever it takes as long as you're abiding the law. Abide the law, change unjust laws. I'll end it there. Thanks for watching again. I already said my other stuff. Have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, or night, whenever and wherever you may be.